On a December morning in 1531, Juan Diego Cuauhtlatoatzin, a native Chichimeca recently converted to Christianity, walked toward Mass on the hill of Tepeyac, near present-day Mexico City. Dawn broke, and the silence of the landscape was broken only by the murmur of birds. Halfway through his walk, heavenly music began to echo around Juan Diego. He stopped to listen, and with his heart racing, he observed a glow that seemed to radiate from the top of the hill. With hesitant steps, he climbed to the place, intrigued by what he saw. At the top, Juan Diego saw a figure of extraordinary beauty. It was a young woman dressed in a sky-blue cloak filled with golden stars. His face was kind and serene, and his words called him tenderly, "Juanito, my dearest son." The woman introduced herself as the Mother of God, the Virgin Mary, and explained that she wanted a church to be built there. There, she promised to offer her love, comfort, and protection to all who sought her with faith. Juan Diego, humble and obedient, bowed deeply before her. The Virgin Mary asked Juan Diego to take her message to the local bishop, Don Juan de Zumárraga. This was a pious man, but skeptical about supernatural manifestations. Despite this, Juan Diego accepted the mission with courage and left immediately. Upon meeting the bishop, Juan Diego reported everything he had seen and heard. Dom Zumárraga listened attentively, but suspicious, asked him for a sign that would prove that the message truly came from heaven. Juan Diego left the audience disappointed, but determined to return to the Virgin. The next day, when climbing Tepeyac again, Juan Diego met the Lady of Heaven. He explained the difficulty he had faced in transmitting the message to the bishop. With a compassionate smile, the Virgin assured him that she would provide the necessary sign. However, before he could return to the hill, Juan Diego was informed that his uncle, Juan Bernardino, was seriously ill. He decided to take care of his uncle, postponing his mission. His heart was divided between his duty to the Virgin and the need to help his relative. In the early hours of December 12th, when trying to avoid meeting the Virgin to look for a priest for his uncle, Juan Diego took another path. But the Virgin intercepted his path and with an understanding look said, "Am I not here? Who am your mother?" She reassured Juan Diego, saying that his uncle was already cured, and insisted that he climb back to the top of Tepeyac, where he would find the sign that he should take to the bishop. Reassured, he obeyed and followed instructions. At the top of the hill, Juan Diego was amazed to find an abundance of Castile roses, flowers that should not have been there, given the cold climate and arid terrain. The Virgin asked him to collect the flowers in his tilma, a cactus fiber cloak, and take them to the bishop. Juan Diego walked down the hill carefully, carrying the roses in his tilma. When he arrived at the episcopal residence, he asked to see Dom Zumárraga again. At Juan Diego's insistence, the guards finally allowed him entry. In the presence of the bishop, Juan Diego released the ends of his tilma, letting the roses fall to the ground. Instantly, everyone in the room was amazed to see that the image of the Virgin Mary had miraculously formed on the fabric. The tilma presented a splendid image, the Virgin Mary with dark skin, wearing a pink dress adorned with indigenous symbols and a starry blue cloak. She was standing on a crescent moon, supported by an angel. Dom Zumárraga and those present fell to their knees, recognizing the heavenly sign. The bishop immediately promised to build the sanctuary requested by the Virgin at the top of Tepeyac, in accordance with her expressed will. News of the miracle quickly spread throughout the region. Thousands of indigenous people and settlers began to make pilgrimages to the site to see the tilma and pay homage to the Mother of God. The event marked a spiritual turning point for Mexico. At the same time, Juan Bernardino, Juan Diego's uncle, confirmed that he had been miraculously healed at the same moment that the Virgin spoke to Juan Diego. He said that the Virgin also appeared to him, identifying herself as Saint Mary of Guadalupe. Devotion to the Virgin of Guadalupe grew rapidly, uniting indigenous and Spanish peoples under the same Christian faith. She became a symbol of solace and unity in a time of great tension and conflict. Juan Diego's tilma, which was supposed to deteriorate within a few years due to its composition, remained miraculously intact, even centuries later. Scientists and experts who studied it were perplexed by its durability. The image on the tilma is full of details rich in meaning. Each element, from the colors to the Virgin's posture, conveys theological and cultural messages deeply rooted in Catholic tradition and indigenous heritage. The figure of the Virgin is surrounded by golden rays, symbolizing her heavenly dignity. Her expression, at once compassionate and majestic, evokes the tenderness of a mother who welcomes her children with unconditional love. The blue cloak represents heaven and royalty, while the pink dress symbolizes the earth. The floral motifs on her costume allude to indigenous culture, suggesting that Maria welcomes and understands native people. The moon beneath his feet and the stars on his mantle evoke biblical and cosmological images, while the position of his hands, joined in prayer, reflects his ongoing intercession for all the faithful. Devotion to the Virgin of Guadalupe was quickly recognized by the Catholic Church. In 1754, Pope Benedict XIV proclaimed her patroness of Mexico, recognizing the central role of her appearance in the evangelization of the continent. Today, the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Tepeyac is one of the most visited sanctuaries in the world. Millions of pilgrims from all corners of the planet go to the site annually in search of blessings and spiritual renewal. After the miracle of the tilma, the hill of Tepeyac quickly became a center of fervent pilgrimage. Men, women, and children traveled long distances to see the image and venerate the Mother of God, now recognized as Our Lady of Guadalupe. Construction of the first sanctuary began shortly after Bishop Dom Zumárraga approved the project. It was a simple structure, but its importance transcended any architectural grandeur, as it symbolized the divine presence in the hearts of the people. Over the years, devotion to the Virgin of Guadalupe became a powerful link between indigenous communities and Spanish colonizers. Maria de Guadalupe was seen as a welcoming mother to everyone, regardless of their origin. Missionaries working to evangelize Mexico reported that after the miracle, thousands of indigenous people accepted baptism and embraced the Catholic faith. The Virgin's message resonated deeply in their hearts. At the same time, the image on the tilma began to be studied and venerated for its extraordinary richness of detail. The symbols contained in the painting reflected cultural and religious elements familiar to both native peoples and European Christians. The Virgin of Guadalupe was interpreted as a cultural bridge between two worlds. Her dark skin, the floral patterns on her clothes, and her appearance to an indigenous person reinforced the idea that Mary came to all people, especially the humble and oppressed. In the tilma, experts observed characteristics that could not have been produced by human hands. Even with the most advanced resources available centuries later, science was unable to replicate the details present in the image. Careful analysis revealed that the stars on the Virgin's cloak corresponded to the constellations visible in the Mexican sky on the morning of December 12, 1531. This fascinating detail reinforced the authenticity and celestial message of the image. Furthermore, the eyes of the Virgin on the tilma contained a unique mystery. Magnified on several occasions, scholars found reflections that seemed to depict the scene in which Juan Diego opened his tilma before the bishop. Investigations into the tilma have become the subject of continuous study over the centuries. Scientists, historians, and theologians seek to understand the depth and meaning of this miraculous manifestation. Despite its composition being made from agave fibers, a material known to deteriorate quickly, tilma remains in excellent condition to this day. Neither time, nor the elements, nor attempts at vandalism managed to damage it. One of the most striking episodes occurred in 1921, when a bomb, hidden in a flower arrangement, was detonated near the image. Despite the explosion, which destroyed everything around it, the tilma and its protective glass remained intact. This inexplicable preservation further strengthened the faith of devotees who see in the tilma a continuous testimony of divine love and protection. The episode also marked the beginning of a period of religious persecution in Mexico. During the first decades of the 20th century, the Mexican government adopted anti-clerical policies that sought to suppress the Catholic Church. However, devotion to the Virgin of Guadalupe endured, becoming a symbol of national and spiritual identity. The image of the Virgin became an icon not only of faith, but also of resistance. During the Cristera War, combatants carried banners with the image of the Virgin, invoking her intercession and protection. Over time, the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe underwent renovations and expansions to accommodate the growing number of pilgrims. The current basilica, built in the 1970s, can house tens of thousands of faithful. The presence of the tilma at the main altar continues to be the focal point of the sanctuary. Pilgrims gather in reverent silence to contemplate the image, many of them bringing their intentions, thanks and requests to the Mother of Guadalupe. Devotion to the Virgin is not limited to Mexico. Over the centuries, its influence has spread throughout Latin America and beyond, making it one of the most revered Marian titles in the world. In 1945, Pope Pius XIV proclaimed Our Lady of Guadalupe as the Empress of the Americas. This title reflects her central position in the spirituality of the continent, uniting different cultures under her maternal protection. A significant moment in the modern history of the devotion occurred in 1979, when Pope John Paul II visited the Basilica of Guadalupe. He highlighted the importance of Mary as a defender of the poor and marginalized. John Paul II returned to the sanctuary several times, deepening ties between the Vatican and Guadalupan devotion. In 2002, he canonized Juan Diego, formally recognizing his sainthood and his role as the Virgin's messenger. During his canonization, the Pope described Juan Diego as an example of humility and faith, whose simple actions transformed the history of evangelization in America. The event was received with great joy by millions of devotees. Today, Our Lady of Guadalupe is celebrated on December 12th with masses, processions, and festivities around the world. In Mexico, this date is marked by moving demonstrations of faith and gratitude. For many, the Virgin of Guadalupe represents hope in times of difficulty. His image is often found in homes, churches, and even public spaces as a constant reminder of his loving presence. The messages of humility, unity, and protection that emanate from the tilma story continue to inspire generations. His story transcends cultural and linguistic barriers, offering a universal invitation to faith and trust in God. The Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe continues to be one of the busiest pilgrimage sites in the world. Each year, millions of people travel long distances, often on foot, to demonstrate their devotion and seek the Virgin's intercession. Pilgrims of different origins, ages, and social conditions come together on this journey. They carry with them their pain, hopes, and gratitude, certain that Maria de Guadalupe will welcome them with her compassionate and maternal gaze. Among the most common expressions of devotion are ex votos, objects offered as thanks for graces received. These gifts range from simple candles to more elaborate items such as miniatures depicting miracles achieved. The days leading up to December 12th transform Mexico City into a spectacle of faith. Thousands of people gather in processions, singing hymns and carrying images and banners of the Virgin. Midnight Mass, known as Las Mañanitas, is a special moment. The faithful sing songs in honor of the Virgin, while her images are adorned with flowers and offered to the basilica. The image of the Virgin of Guadalupe also plays a significant cultural role. It is seen as a symbol of Mexican identity, present in works of art, literature, and even social movements. His image was used during Mexico's struggle for independence, The insurgents carried banners with the Virgin as a sign of unity and legitimacy in their quest for freedom and justice. During the Mexican Revolution, the Virgin of Guadalupe was invoked as protector of the people. Their presence in battles symbolized the fight against oppression and the search for a more just and equal future. In addition to its spiritual and cultural importance, the story of the tilma continues to fascinate scientists and theologians. The absence of traditional pigments and the inexplicable durability of the fabric defy conventional explanations. In more recent studies, it was discovered that the tilma does not contain signs of brushstrokes, as would be expected in a painting. This has led many to conclude that its origin is supernatural, reinforcing its miraculous authenticity. Another intriguing discovery is the texture of the colors in the tilma. Under microscopic analysis, it is clear that they change tone slightly depending on the viewing angle, an effect that could not be reproduced with human techniques known in the 16th century. The image also demonstrates anatomical and optical precision in the Virgin's eyes. The reflection of the eyes contains multiple figures that appear to be a faithful reproduction of the scene described by Juan Diego. For devotees, these mysteries are not just scientific enigmas, but signs of divine intervention. Every detail of the tilma is seen as a message carefully planned by God to touch the hearts of the faithful. The influence of Our Lady of Guadalupe extends beyond the Americas. All over the world, his image is venerated in chapels and churches, especially among Latin American immigrant communities. In times of crisis, devotees often turn to the Virgin of Guadalupe, seeking comfort and hope. Its presence symbolizes protection and divine intercession amid life's difficulties. His message transcends barriers of time and space, being a living proof of God's presence in human history. The Virgin of Guadalupe is not just a figure from the past, but an ever-present mother to those who invoke her. Among the most moving aspects of the devotion is the report of miracles associated with the Virgin. Stories of healings, conversions, and interventions in desperate situations are widely shared among the faithful. Many of these miracles are documented and analyzed by the Church, which considers them testimonies of God's ongoing action through the intercession of the Virgin of Guadalupe. Its reputation for miracles continues to grow. Devotion to the Virgin also has a profound impact on families. Many parents teach their children from an early age to love and venerate Our Lady of Guadalupe, perpetuating their faith from generation to generation. For indigenous people, the Virgin of Guadalupe remains a symbol of recognition and respect for their culture and spirituality. She is seen as a bridge that connects her ancestral traditions to the Christian faith. In many Mexican homes, the image of the Virgin occupies a prominent place. It is common to see her surrounded by flowers, candles, and personal objects on small altars lovingly set up by devotees. The image is also associated with the protection of the home. Many believe that it wards off evil and attracts blessings, being a spiritual shield for the family and community. In the history of sacred art, the tilma has inspired countless representations of the Virgin of Guadalupe. Each artist, when portraying Mary, seeks to capture the essence of her compassion, purity, and royalty. Despite her Mexican origin, Our Lady of Guadalupe is welcomed in many cultures as a universal mother. Its message of love and protection resonates with people from different backgrounds and realities. The Virgin is often invoked in times of transition and change. Many Latin American immigrants, when leaving their countries, take with them an image of Guadalupe as a reminder of their faith and hope. The Virgin of Guadalupe remains a symbol of hope for those facing personal, family, or community challenges. In times of war, poverty, or natural disasters, his image is a source of comfort and inspiration. The stories of conversion and spiritual renewal associated with the Virgin of Guadalupe are numerous. Many testify that by approaching her, they found strength to overcome addictions, family reconciliation, and a new direction for their lives. In indigenous communities, Maria de Guadalupe is seen as a mother who understands the needs of her people. His image has become an icon of cultural and spiritual resistance, especially in the face of external pressures. The Virgin is also a figure of integration. In a world divided by cultures, languages, and beliefs, she presents herself as a mother who welcomes everyone, uniting them under faith in Christ. In Mexico, the Virgin of Guadalupe transcends religion, being considered a central element of national identity. She's present at civil ceremonies, sporting events, and popular demonstrations, always remembering the values of faith and unity. Many pilgrims report transformative experiences when visiting the Basilica of Guadalupe. Some describe deep peace, while others speak of graces received or answers to prayers made before the tilma. For children, the story of Juan Diego and the Virgin of Guadalupe is often taught as an example of faith and obedience. The young indigenous man is seen as a model of humility and trust in divine providence. The celebration of December 12th is a special moment for families. In addition to liturgical celebrations, many people organize meetings and prepare typical dishes, creating an atmosphere of joy and devotion. The relationship between Our Lady of Guadalupe and the Latin American people is marked by deep affection. Many consider her a mother who walks alongside her children, guiding and protecting them at every stage of life. The symbols present on the tilma continue to be studied and interpreted. The flowers on the Virgin's mantle, for example, are seen as a spiritual map pointing to theological and cultural truths. Among scholars, there is a consensus that the Virgin of Guadalupe played a crucial role in the history of evangelization. His appearance helped to integrate indigenous and Christian cultures, paving the way for a living and authentic faith. The image of the Virgin is also a reminder of the dignity of every human being. By choosing to appear to a humble indigenous person, Maria emphasized that everyone has value in the eyes of God, regardless of their social position or origin. For young people, Our Lady of Guadalupe is often presented as a model of courage and love. Its message of service and care for those in need resonates with those seeking to make a difference in the world. The Basilica of Guadalupe, with its modern and imposing structure, is a testimony to the continued devotion to the Virgin. Despite the passing of centuries, the pilgrim's faith remains vibrant and unshakable. Many accounts of graces received are documented in the Basilica. These testimonies, often written in letters or represented in ex votos, are proof of the trust of the faithful in the Virgin's intercession. In times of global crisis, the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe is often invoked as a symbol of hope. Its message of peace and unity is especially relevant in a world marked by division and conflict. The Virgin of Guadalupe is also a figure of comfort for immigrants. In foreign lands, her image represents the connection with their roots and the certainty that Mary walks with them wherever they are. The impact of Our Lady of Guadalupe on global Christianity is profound. She is venerated not only by Catholics, but also by Christians of other denominations who recognize her unique role in the history of salvation. Guadalupan celebrations are characterized by a mix of indigenous and Catholic traditions. This integration reflects the essence of Mary's message, the union of peoples under the light of Christ. Many devotees report that, when meditating on the image of the Virgin of Guadalupe, they feel called to a life of greater fidelity to God. His presence inspires conversion, prayer, and works of charity. The Virgin of Guadalupe also has a special role in protecting life. Many pro-life campaigns invoke his intercession, trusting his guidance to defend the most vulnerable, including the unborn. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the image of the Virgin has been widely venerated around the world. The faithful turn to her, asking for health, comfort, and an end to the global crisis. Over the centuries, the tilma has remained a testimony to God's faithfulness to his people. She is a reminder that even in times of uncertainty, Mary is present as a mother and intercessor. Devotion to Our Lady of Guadalupe continues to grow, not only in numbers, but also in spiritual depth. His message remains relevant, offering light in a world that often faces darkness. The story of the tilma is, above all, proof of God's love for humanity. Through Mary of Guadalupe, he continues to call his children to faith, hope, and charity, inviting them to trust fully in his providence.